Hi, everybody. It's Michelle Jackson. I'm here to talk to Angela Ford. And Angela is doing so much amazing work in the Chicago area. And I'm very excited to have her here. I always like to bring someone on who is doing something that provides resources to our writers on the Black Writers Workspace. And so today's conversation is going to be about her company, Obsidian, and what she's doing with that company. Is also going to be about a new initiative that she has called Wrote that I think our writers will love to hear about. It gives you an opportunity to really get in a space where we are honoring, well, she's honoring Black culture and writing. And then we're going to talk about her book. She's also an author. And so, you know how we love talking to authors as well. But this meeting, this opportunity is really about all of us learning about how a resource that's out there where we can collectively pull together our work and we can archive it as well as we can meet and communicate with other writers. And so Angela's doing some amazing things. And so let's bring her on the screen so we can meet her. Hi.
Hi.
Wow. There's just so much going on with you, and I am not going to even try to explain it all. I want you to tell our audience about yourself, and I want you to tell our audience about your work. And then we're going to spend the next 30 minutes just talking about how can our writers utilize your service and what we can bring to you and what you can bring to us. As you know, the Black Writers Workspace, we have over 11,000 people on our Facebook, private Facebook group, and we have thousands of others on YouTube and Twitter and Instagram. And we're always looking for resources. Most of our writers are self published, but it doesn't mean that they're not the best of the best. We're self published and we're pulling together our ideas and trying to feed each other through this process of getting published. And so it's a lot of work, as you can only imagine. It really is a lot of work. So we're excited to have you here. For those of you out there, if you're on Facebook, please share this on your Facebook page. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe to our page. If you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can also listen to this particular session with the great Angela Ford. So tell us about yourself, Angela.
Oh, thanks. The great. I love that, right?
Yes.
um, okay, so my name is Angela Ford. I have been an entrepreneur for 30 years. So I did have one job. I tried it, it worked out. I was there for 8 years, but I'm not. I'm better as an entrepreneur. I have been in real estate most of that 30 years, but when the last elder in my family passed away, and that was my mom, and I think 2013, I had decided, oh my gosh, I should find some clear pictures of my grandmother. My grandmother was in the Chicago Defender newspaper. I'm based out of Chicago. And I said, oh, I should get some cleaner pictures for the descendants, to pass down as legacy. It was there that I learned the Chicago Defender archives were disintegrating. And that was alarming. And I already had a community nonprofit. So we started preserving those images. I got a grant. We started preserving the images. Then I realized, gosh, a lot of the Black institutions just didn't spend the dollars and resources on digitizing and getting these things available on the internet. It was from there that I said, oh, I actually wanted to have some people write something for me. You're looking for a Black writer. And so a writer who might know another writer who really doesn't write that. And it was just a highly fragmented space in order to find a writer. So just as a career entrepreneur, we had formed the Obsidian Collection to digitize Black history images. But then we founded Obsidian Wrote. And Wrote, in short, is like a LinkedIn for Black writers. So it's a platform where Black writers can log on. It's obsidianwrote.com. Black writers can log on and tell a little bit about themselves and at a minimum of 4 links to what I wrote. And what it is I have mentors who wanted ghostwriters to write their books. These are all Black people. And it was just very challenging to find each other. And one of my closest cousins is a writer, and she would go, "Oh, you can call her when she finished this assignment." It's not scalable. So we have a lot of clients that are interested in our images that are also interested in finding Black writers. And so I give you Rote.
And at the bottom of the screen, we have the website for how you can learn more about Rote. I love that. And LinkedIn for Black writers. That
Yes.
is a great way to define it. And it's resources. That's the great thing about technology. Technology gives us the capability to connect with people everywhere. And, but unfortunately, what I've learned also about technology is that although it's there, many of us aren't using it the way we can use it in order to stay connected. And so it's good to see that you've created a platform that allows everyone to come in and to share a piece of themselves and their work and to connect with mentors and with other people. And mentoring is a big part of entrepreneurship.
It
And so,
is. Yes.
absolutely.
I have some great mentors. I just wouldn't have made it without all of them. I think many people will be surprised how many of the elders really want to help. I mean, if you think about it, they've been doing this for decades, and their family is tired of hearing about it. So if you want to hear every single story, oh my gosh, they really want to tell it, and there's a lot of opportunity there. But we came up with Rote because when I was also trying to find journalists, I'm just Googling Black writers. I'm preaching to the choir, I'm sure, but every now and then an individual's website may bubble up, but it's because they've created a very specific niche, a very specific brand, and this is what they're focused on. And more often than not, it wasn't what we were looking for. And so we found that there are lots of corporations that want to hear a Black voice. For whatever reason now, people are starting to understand and value that. But more than that, more than just corporations wanting to hear from Black writers, Black professionals want to partner with Black writers. And that is, we expect everything to be kind of at our fingertips in these modern times, right? It's like, why can't I just Google Black writers and the first 1,000, are who I pick from? So this is, I hope everybody logs on, because Obsidian is not a competitive journalist. You know what I mean? So we don't have anything to gain or win if everybody else signs up. We want everybody to win. That's one of those things going around in social media. Like, you can't beat me because I want you to win too, right?
Yes, absolutely. And so, and signing up, give us the process for how do we sign up, and is there some type of criteria, qualifications that you have to have in order to be a part of? Right?
No. So the thing is, we will be adding metrics that say what organizations you're affiliated with, because that way a lot of clients or people want to filter through those affiliations, like your organization. People might want to just see their own peers, but we're not going to be the judge and jury. It's like LinkedIn. Your profile and your credentials will stand for themselves. And the people who are actually contracting work, those are the people who are going to kind of judge, so we don't want to create that who goes there supremacy barrier don't you get tired of that? It's like, will they accept me? Am I, this is your platform. It stands out there. And if your writing is strong, you should get more interest from more people seeking that kind of content.
So, in this idea of seeking content from Black voices, what are you seeing out there as some of the hurdles? And, of course, after the murder of George Floyd, we've seen more people who are saying, oh, we want more Black voices. There's this wave of inclusion, and that I hope continues. I really do. I hope it continues forever. But we know how things can be trendy and not, have longevity to it. But I have been reached out. A lot of people have reached out to me about looking for people with, Black voices. And I'm thinking, what is it that you're seeing from these companies or organizations? Why now, and what exactly are they looking for?
So, when we first started building the site, because Obsidian is a tech company. You know, we have a lot of platforms that are essentially software solutions. When we first put Obsidian Wrote up, just to kind of put it live as opposed to not live, we got a call from a major network, and I was like, "Uh-oh, we just made that site live." But that's how much the demand is. I think to answer your question first, specifically, is Black people can tell when it's an authentic Black voice. You know what I mean? It 4 sentences in, you're like, you can just go to the next thing, because this is not our voice. This is someone trying to speak to us, but it's not us. And in the reality, while a lot of the leadership may not be serious about diversity, a lot of corporations are. At the end of the day, our dollars matter. Hip hop is the most culturally appropriated music in the history of music around the world. The world loves the African American voice, quiet as it's kept, you know, and in between all of the drama that we get, you know, to be here. But they want that authenticity. What is required in just a modern times is you expect, okay, let me choose from 50, let me choose from 1,000. You expect to have a pool from which you can make those decisions. And so the way that we're all kind of operating as these independent silos is just hard to find, to say, oh, I looked at 50 people, these are the best 4 or 5 for us. We have to organize in that way, because that's the way business is being done now. And that's what we did by organizing the platform, the non-judgmental platform of Obsidian Wrote. It's just like, it is like LinkedIn. Everybody puts their profile up there, and it lives or dies on its own, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm just happy to hear that you're doing something like this, and that you are giving people a place to go. Not just those of us who are writers, but those who are looking for Black writers, because I totally agree. I create and maintain and moderate the Black Writers Workspace, the Facebook group. Like I said, 11,000 people. I'm constantly posting, and I'm a nerd, so I'm always reading. That's just something that, you know, I do anyway. But when I Google Black author, when I Google Black writers, I don't think people understand how little work, how little information is out there.
Yes.
We're still, you know, we are still honoring, and we should, our great classic writers, you know, people from the past, and we should always honor them. Langston Hughes and Richard Wright and all of them. But there are some great writers now, and it is so hard to find them. It's like you have to dig through, you've got to, you know, look under every rock and everything to find a writer. And it should not be that difficult. I have a PR firm. I'm constantly hiring writers, and it is
right. But you know what? Things change. You know, like I grew up in a world with 3 TV channels. You know, 2 genders and 1 sexuality. I was just telling somebody that, look, there was 5 things in my whole life. You know, so if you had the 5 or 6 major publishing houses, then you could find the writers that they put out. I mean, that was the one way. And then once you got into self-publishing and 1,000 titles hit the market every day, the whole thing changed. And so the same way with the images that we learned, it was like, okay, we've got to organize this way. We've got to get ourselves together. So we are launching a branch of Obsidian in London, and then soon after in Kenya. So Obsidian Wrote will be global as well. So that because the world has shrunk, you know, and experiencing the same climate crisis, right? So we've got a lot to talk about with each other, and being global is essential as well. And so a lot of other countries would want to hear these American voices as well. And a lot of these corporations are global. And so it's just a way we have to react that way. One statistic that I learned from my attorney, I tell everyone I have more lawyers than friends now, because we learned a lot about privacy and what to share and who to share, and how we handle the prize that is the images of the writers and all of that and their content. So we don't ask anything personal, and we don't share anything personal. We've got tons of lawyers. But one of the things I've learned is that of Generation Z, they take in 91% of their information through their smartphone.
Mhm.
So going forward, if you're not in there in a succinct point click, couple of drop downs kind of way, then you're just not gonna be a part of the future.
Mhm.
So Obsidian Road gets us together as the Black diaspora, right? All of us. So we can see each other and the world can see us, and we can write the way we see ourselves.
You know, you said a couple of things I wanted to just go back and talk about. Once you started talking about about self-publishing and the fact that there are thousands, actually, Bonker, who creates the ISBNs, said that there's 2,700 new self-published books hit the market every day. Millions.
Okay, so that number has, okay,
Yes.
yes, wow.
Millions a year.
Yeah.
Then you have another number that bothers me to no end, which is that between 1950 and 2018, our major publishing houses only published 5% of books that were written by Black people.
See,
So you've got an oversaturated market here with all of the self-published books that are out there, and all these authors are needing to figure out how to market themselves, how to connect, how to let people know about them. And then you have the traditional marketing firms, traditional publishing firms that aren't putting out a lot of our work. We think it's a lot because we're all loving on the few that are out there, the few bestsellers, but it really isn't a lot. I believe that self-publishing is the future. It has to be. Look how many of us are self-publishing. And
yes.
so I believe in the next couple of years, the publishing industry is going to need to take a look at how do they nurture these self-published authors so that we can, get that marketing machine that they supposedly put behind you in order to get the marketing dollars coming in for us, because we're writing. We're writing and writing and writing, and on my page I am just amazed at the talent that's there, but I am also frustrated that so many of us are writing and selling 100 books. We're spending years
Right.
and selling 100
Yeah,
books.
now that's true. But I think a big part of that too is more so that the world became really decentralized really fast. And so now you have, people like yourself who formed an organization and hit 11,000. You know what I mean? So that's different from hoping that you were selected by a major publishing house to then be vetted to their standards. And I think the decentralization is actually why hip hop is doing so well, right? Because it was those guys just stapling their cartons to the wall and going to the marketplace with their stuff, and then people reacting. And because if everything had just come through the things the way it would all still have this Motown and then Motown 2.0 kind of vibe, and that made sense then. Mm-hmm. But now we're getting, influencers and independent and creative artists that are just able to bubble up. So I think it's going to be important for all of us to kind of learn these new ways. And believe me, I am not young. I go to the bathroom and come back. This app is out. This app is in. My staff is literally a generation younger than me because they keep me understanding how fast things move, but I am good as a 30-year entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. I can go out here and get the capital and raise the capital to build the thing. But the people who are writing the code are in their 20s. I'm like, oh gosh, I look like magic, Mm-hmm. But I just want to be part of this new world. So that, and then I think Obsidian is moving toward NFTs as well. So we're staying to blaze new trails, but go forward as the Black diaspora, not waiting for the world to catch up. It's like, look, we're coming in like hip hop, boom,
I love that. And you are blazing a path. Forbes top 50 out of 50. That's hard to make. And
thank you.
You're doing it. And I'm so happy to see that you are doing all these amazing things. You're an entrepreneur, you're an author, you're a philanthropist, you're an innovator, especially around tech. We need more Black people in the tech industry innovating and doing that. And then you have a tab of real estate going on with you, right? You just purchased a mansion.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes, I did. You know what? Yeah, we did. Yes, we did. And we're calling that Obsidian House, and it's going to be the first of many Obsidian houses because, in our neighborhoods and around the world, but let's focus on this country, right? There are these huge historic mansions that don't have a real modern utility at this point. And so we're doing that work share space because, these young people like to work together. Okay, but we're creating really cool environments. I mean, we can all remember those two brothers minding their own business in a Starbucks and getting arrested. So we're creating safe, cool spaces for content creators to create and have some really cool coffee, beverages, and elixirs. Just the whole Black thing. Can you imagine being in Obsidian House with all Black art, all Black images, and all Black music? Everybody's welcome. But normally we have to sit in another space, with the lighthouse and the crashing wave. And what if I just sat someplace that as soon as I stepped in, it's like, okay, this is Black owned, clearly. That always feels kind of cool,
And that's where your innovation kicks in. And when I think about what you're doing, I mean, you are creating online platforms for networking, and then you're creating brick and mortar platforms for networking. And that's what the future has to look like. If we want to stay relevant in this world, as dynamic creatives, we've got to think outside the box. And so
and we've always been outside the box, right? We've always been outside
the box.
Right. When they wouldn't teach us classical music, we invented jazz. Just give me the instrument. Let me see what this does. And then when we didn't have nothing else, okay, then we just gonna beatbox it then. So I do feel like I'm part of us, right? Like, okay, I got a couple of dollars and some coding. And we're having that with the with Obsidian House. We got 6 different law firms just on the house. Again, more lawyers than friends. But they're like, well, is it a entertainment space? Because if you don't have to play music, I said, we got to play music. Black people, there's got to be overhead music. They're saying, well, is it a club? No, it's not a club. So we're breaking all these barriers because they're like, is it bigger than a bread box? Is it not? And we're like, but every time I talk to somebody Black, they're like, oh, that's going to be nice. I get it. They fully get it. It's the zoning and the institutions that don't necessarily get it, but we'll check every box. They're like, can you give coffee away? I'm like, don't nobody want no random coffee sitting over there. We don't roll like that. I know you think so, but I don't know Black people that's just been over there. No, so we
doing it with a flavor that is our own. I mean, I believe in that too. I'm an entrepreneur as well. I mentioned to you before, I ran shopping centers for 10 years. I run my own business for 13. I have a PR firm. I also wrote policy for the state of Maryland and economic development. I write books. I have the Black Writers Workspace. We have to not only be dynamic, but we have to hold on to the culture behind what we do. Don't sell everything you have. I understand everybody want to make money and do it big, but we want to hold some things for ourselves, because for me to walk into a co-working space and know that it is something set up by someone who's like me, and I'm seeing Black art on the wall and I'm hearing music that I can connect with, I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of that. And I think, so I'm really happy to just learn about the things that you're doing and how you're trying to you're a disruptor. I mean, you're like throwing bombs into things, and that's exactly what you have to do in order to not only hold on to it, but be a part of this fast-paced world where change is just happening so quickly.
Amazing. I appreciate that, because when the Forbes 50 over 50 came up, first I was like, oh God, I'm over 50. That went fast. Because my son is 32, and I'm like, how are you 32 when I'm 32, right? Like, you're not. You need to stop this. But with that, I spent a lot of my years, I'm from the generation of kind of the assimilation model. Like, if we just kind of fit in, it'll be awesome. It didn't ever feel right. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, I'm just going to tolerate some of this rock and roll. That's okay. Every now and then, something Motown-y might come on. It's like, okay. But I didn't think, and after I passed 50, I was like, okay, enough of this. the mansion came online, and I just said, I'm gonna buy that mansion. And we paid $1 million for that mansion. And I can't tell you how ordinary I am. You know, just I'm super ordinary. But it took me 2 years to structure that deal, but we structured it. And now I kind of crossed over into a space that I wouldn't have gotten, always kind of pulling back and not wanting to be too Black. Now I'm just super Black. I'm like those said, oh, so I'm blackity, blackity, black. Listen,
blackity, black.
yeah, I'm just, look, it's because I love the culture. And when you look at where some of our most widely successes are, it's the people that just came out with, this is who I am, this is what I'm singing, this is what I'm writing. But to your earlier point about Black authors, I wrote the one book I wish I had read in entrepreneurship, because everything was just too proving you can use big words and say big things. And I've got a degree in management. I mean, whatever. I mean, from 100 years ago, the word internet was nowhere in my education. But one of the things, I did befriend Sam Greenlee, who wrote The Spook Who Sat by the Door. You know, it was a quick read. That book, mother said, wow, she sounds like a spook who sat by the door. And I was like, oh, I heard that phrase. And she said, you haven't read the book? Like, I'm her child. Did you read the book? But I've not only read it, but I found Sam Greenlee because he's in Chicago. He's passed away now, but he had said your generation doesn't have many great authors. He said, like, you know, me and Toni Morrison are in our 80s. I love that, him and Toni Morrison, right? But they were in their 80s when he said it. And then I did have some intellectual conversations about that. And what we talked about was how we lost a lot of great creatives during the AIDS epidemic, which was very a part of, and that's something that we're looking at. We got to tell our own stories, because that is what happened. I mean, I was in wardrobe styling from 86 to 96, but I remember we lost Patrick Kelly, Willie Smith. We lost Alvin Ailey. You know, we lost a lot of creatives through that, and then never really picked back up to, then the internet came and the world changed. And, you know, we just didn't pick back up into our writing and talking to each other. So we're hoping that after everybody joins Obsidian Road, that we create more platforms and partner with you guys permanently, right? To get these Black titles to each other. Right. You know, the young people expect a phone alert, hot new book. They expect that to come through their watch. You know, if they expect everything to come right where they are. So we got to figure that out.
And we do. And I'm glad to hear you say that, because I'm working on a project that hopefully will help with that, with getting our work out there and allowing people to find out about it. And it's very essential, because there are some great writers out there. But if we're only reading who's getting the big deal, or the inequitably paid deal, because unfortunately that's happening, then we're not seeing the real creativity out there. I grew up reading Black books. I grew up in Alabama. I went to an all-Black high school, and then I went to the University of Alabama. I have a minor in African American studies from the University of Alabama.
That's fantastic. You're de facto smarter than me, because my ex-husband and I, we met at a mainstream university, Illinois State, and we didn't agree on much. But the one thing we agreed on was that our son was going to an HBCU, and he went to Hampton, and he's way smarter than us. Now he just face palms every time we get a sentence wrong. We're like, we learned something. And he's like, okay. You know, but we spend so much time, you know, picketing for this and protesting. You know, it just takes energy away from being Black and being Black and beautiful, right? So I would love to be on a platform. Obsidian Road, it has categories. You can select up to 5 categories. Are you a journalist, screenwriter, ghostwriter, reporter? You know, it's 10 different categories, so that you can say, these are the things I write. And that way people looking for just a ghostwriter can filter those. You're not trying to go through every Black everything, because even though we're all Black, there are specific styles and preferences, you know.
Yeah. Well, Angela, this has been a great conversation. I wish we could talk longer. Oh my God, I've learned so much. I just want to tell you, thank you so much for what you're doing. And I want to tell everybody in the Black Writers Workspace to go out and join Wrote. The information at the bottom of the screen. Please become a part of this. This is the Black LinkedIn. I love that, love that, love that. And you know, you've got all these journalists and all these different types of writers that you're out here, you're putting your information out, and it's going to help us to find our gigs because we are still wanting to write and make money and connect with companies. It's going to help us to also continue to propel the Black voice, the culture, the tone, everything, move it to the next level. There are people who want to connect with Black writers, and I'm glad to hear that you are doing so much. But all the other things that you're doing, I just want to tell you, congratulations. You are my hero.
Thank you.
Keep working hard. People like me, we're looking at you. We are paying attention to how dynamic you are, and it gives us the okay to keep going. I was having this conversation with my husband just this morning about the fact that there are so many things I want to do. And I'm already at that point where people are like, why are you doing so much? You know, they ask those questions. And I'm like, you have no idea. I'm not even doing the things that I really ultimately want to do. And then when I see you, I feel like I can do this. I'm just going to keep going and trying to push forward to make some big things happen because when I leave here, when I leave this earth, I want people to say, Michelle, wow, she did the thing. And so that's important for me and for my family. So thank you so much. Give us a couple of words, wrap up for us what it is that we can do right now to help you with your project.
Well, what everyone can do to help is really join Obsidian Road because it helps us say to all the brands that we have thousands of people on the site. It helps prove that we are out here en masse with talent, with skill. Take a look. So that's the main thing that I would say to all of the writers, you know, and listen, I'm going to be corny from the 70s, but write on, right? Keep writing, right on. My son, he's face palming somewhere right now, like good.
He's happy. I've got a 15-year-old. Trust me. Every time I say the word TikTok, he's like, "Oh, Mama, there."
All my unit stops in 1975. Hard stop. Right on.
Thank you so much. We'll have to do this again. I wanted to talk a little bit more about your book. So next time you come on, we're going to only talk about your book and entrepreneurship because I'm so fascinated by the things that you're doing. But Angela also has written a book about startups, and we want to be sure we'll put that information in our post about this particular session here. And for those of you who have questions, please drop those questions in the comment area on Facebook, and we'll be sure to get answers for you. So Angela, thank you again. Enjoy yourself. I don't know how the weather is in Chicago, but I'm sure it's nice and cool. And it's cold. Is it cold?
In Chicago, though, we don't even care.
I love that.